this is the other part that is really critical for people to understand. There is an effort afoot, and it is a very well-funded effort and being funded by some of the richest people in the world to eliminate the use of natural gas. And it's the Beyond Carbon campaign, funded by Michael Bloomberg to the tune of $500 million. They want to shut down half of the gas plants in America, all the coal plants. They want to further fragilize the grid. But without the gas network, the natural gas network, the entire energy security of the United States is imperiled. And this is one of the things that's such a big challenge, is that the media, and I say this as a reporter, and I used to believe that, I've never had a real job. I've been a journalist my whole career, right? I've been a reporter. It's not a real job. But I used to think the liberal media was a fiction. I thought, come on, this is the conservatives just pissed off, right? No. Wrong. There is liberal media. There is a very clear effort and very powerful interests that are promoting a narrative around energy and power that is a false narrative. And I mean, there was a piece in the New York Times just a couple of days ago about hydrogen. They called hydrogen a renewable resource. I just thought, who in the hell is writing this? I mean, it was so uninformed, so dangerously uninformed. And I thought, this is one of the most prestigious media outlets in the world, and they are so far off from the reality of the situation. It's almost impossible to parody because it was so bad.
If Germany is facing an energy crisis this winter, 2 years ago, how does promising them hydrogen maybe in 8 years solve that problem? And this idea that, maybe Trudeau's, whoever is advising him or giving him this information, trying to be generous with the interpretation of why he might have suggested that, maybe they're giving him just wrong information, right?
Where is all this ignorance coming, or is it willful ignorance? I don't know, Tom. I think that, part of the problem is our politicians are lawyers, right? Almost all of them. And why are they lawyers? Because they couldn't do the math to get into engineering school, right?
Well, I think maybe being a lawyer would be better than being a drama teacher, to be fair.
Well, there's that. You're singing from my hymnal here, Tom. Yes. I mean, when I look at this, when I look at all of these, these schemes, whether in terms of climate change and the rest of it, it's all regressive. It all hurts the poor and the middle class. Every bit of it, whether you're talking about electric cars, whether you're talking about electrifying everything and prohibiting the use of gas in the home, all of it is of a piece that it makes energy and power more expensive. Every bit of it. And so, and yet, here's the part that, to me, the political disconnect here, Tom. I don't identify with either party. As I say, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm disgusted, and I am disgusted. But the Democrats have fashioned themselves, we're the party of the poor and the middle class. All of this climate junk that they're trying to do. I'm not saying I'm opposed to trying to, decarbonization. We're doing that slowly, but this rush to decarbonize all sectors of the economy I can say this because it's a pot, fucks the poor and the middle class. I mean, just like all day long. And yet there's no recognition of this. And I think, when people ask me, well, how do we fight back? I say, look at the affordability issue. The affordability issue is the one that should get bipartisan support.
Basically the Nord Stream pipelines came offline. What happened to Germany's coal use?
Well, they reopened some of their coal plants, and one of the most remarkable developments it was an RWE coal mine. I can pull it up here if I remember the name of it, but they not only the Garzweiler coal mine. They not only it's a lignite mine. So lignite is, of course, low rank coal, produces more CO2 per kilowatt hour, megawatt hour than nearly any other form of generation. And they not only did they reopen, they expand the mine, they had to take down a wind project as they did so. So it's like, again, difficult to parody. How do you parody that? Oh, we're taking down a wind project because we're in the midst of the energy Wende here in Germany. And yet, what are they doing? Oh, we're taking it down because we're expanding the lignite mine so we can provide more reliable electricity. So, I mean, it truly is stunning.
I did my first year of engineering. I love understanding how things work, how things are built. One of my favorite YouTube channels, Engineering Explained. It's a car channel, and he went through a BMW fuel cell for their hydrogen concept. And the gist of it was that they have a very well insulated hydrogen tank. And if you leave that in your garage for 2 weeks, as that hydrogen comes up to temperature, no matter how well it's insulated, it's going to have to vent excess pressure off. You're basically going to end up with a car, if you leave it for, I think it was something like 2 weeks, with zero fuel in it. You're not going to be able to start that car once you come back from, a short trip to wherever, if you leave it at the airport. So,
that's new to me, but it makes perfect sense. I mean, you've got this tiny molecule that's difficult to keep in a tank.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you have a good tank that can hold it, you've got to have special seals. You have to have special hoses. You can't use any of the existing infrastructure. And yet the hype has just been unbelievable. That's my line on hydrogen. The H stands for hype. Well, here's how I phrase it, Tom. I said, climate change is a concern. It's not our only concern.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this idea of being pragmatic, being sober, that's absolutely critical. Yes, what's my view? Climate change is a concern. Do I know the exact amount of CO2 per parts per million in the atmosphere that we should be aiming for? No, no one does. We have theories, we have models that say that. Is this are we facing catastrophic climate change? Again, maybe, I don't know. I mean, yes. Okay. So let's assume that that's the case. Well, then let's make our systems more affordable, more resilient, more reliable, because that's what we're going to need, regardless of what I think about climate change, regardless of what you think about climate change. We are going to need enormous amounts of more energy in the future than we're using today because of people in China, in India, Bangladesh, Indonesia, Vietnam, and a whole host of other countries, Pakistan. They need more juice. They need more energy of all kinds.
Mm-hmm.
And yet there's this kind of myopia about this. Oh, well, we'll use less. No, we won't. No, I don't know who we you're talking about, but we won't. We will use more, especially if the weather gets more extreme. So the Biden administration, and why in the name of Peter, Paul, and Mary, they want to do this. They want to make our auto sector dependent on Chinese supply chains. Have you lost your freaking mind? I mean, have you truly lost your mind on this? And yet they're plowing ahead. And they're also, the same time they're saying, oh, we're going to make our auto sector dependent on Chinese supply chains, they're kneecapping the power grid by prohibiting the construction of they want to eliminate all coal plants and kneecap the ability to build new gas plants. So it's just absolutely inexplicable. I mean, it just truly is. And I say that with no relish. I mean, but it is just truly crazy.
I posted a picture on my Twitter account this weekend of being at a motorcycle race and having 3 electric motorcycles plugged into 2 generators. And it's just a perfect example of, I think the caption I put was, isn't this just like putting gas in your motorcycle with extra steps and extra complexity, right? That's just a perfect cyclic example of how this industry is working and the complexity that it introduces.
Oh, that's rich. We've heard about peak oil forever, and yet today gasoline sells for about the same amount on an inflation-adjusted basis as it did when I was in high school. So, it goes back to this idea of relative value in gold, and what commodity is this time really different? Is it gold really now? Is this is the story really changed, and that we're really now is gold going to take off? Hell if I know. But it's just the oil and gas industry continues to be incredibly innovative. And have we reached peak oil? I don't think so. I think that, the problem, the history of the oil business has always been too much capacity, too much production, not too little. Concept of hydrogen as a renewable energy source. I mean, you can't parody that. It's just like, this is the New York freaking Times.